Imagine this for a second. A country actually declares war, but not on another country, on birds.
Yeah, it sounds almost like a comedy sketch, doesn't it?
It really does, but it actually happened. So today, we're doing a deep dive into something truly extraordinary. The Emu War of 1932 out in Western Australia.
And our mission here, is to really unpack this. It's an event people talk about, but it's often misunderstood.
Right.
We'll look at the sources, figure out the circumstances that led up to this unusual conflict, the tactics they used, and, well, the pretty surprising outcome.
So we can pull out those nuggets of knowledge for you, help you understand the why behind it all.
Exactly. Not just the what, but the why.
Okay, let's dive in. So where do we start? We're in post-World War I Australia.
That's the backdrop. A lot of discharged veterans were given land, particularly in Western Australia.
Right, to start farming. But these weren't exactly prime agricultural spots.
No, often quite marginal land, really challenging to farm. And then you layer on the Great Depression hitting in 1929.
Ah, okay. So things were already tough.
Really tough. And these farmers, they were actually encouraged by the government to plant more wheat.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Well, the government promised assistance, subsidies.
Okay.
But that help, it never fully arrived.
So they're encouraged to grow more, prices collapse because of the Depression, and the promised help isn't there.
Precisely. By October 1932, wheat prices had just plummeted. Farmers were absolutely desperate. Some were even threatening to refuse to deliver their wheat harvest.
Wow. Okay, so they're already staring down ruin.
Yeah.
And that's when things get even weirder.
That's when the emus arrive, and not just a few. We're talking about 20,000 emus.
20,000? That's almost biblical. A feathered tidal wave.
It really was. You see, emus migrate naturally after breeding, heading towards the coast.
Okay.
But the farms, with cleared land and, crucially, new water sources, well, that created this perfect accidental habitat.
An inviting pit stop for thousands of migrating birds.
Exactly. So they started foraging deep into farm territories, places like Chandler, Walgulan. And they weren't just eating the crops.
What else were they doing?
Spoiling what they didn't eat. And get this, smashing through fences. Big gaps.
Oh no, don't tell me.
Yep. That let rabbits in, causing even more damage. It was a compounding disaster.
So farmers are desperate. Many are ex-soldiers. What do? They ask for machine guns.
They did. They sent a deputation straight to the Minister of Defense, Sir George Pierce. Their request was pretty specific. Deploy machine guns against the emus.
And Pierce just agreed to send the military after birds.
He did, quite readily actually, but with strings attached. Very specific conditions.
Okay, like what?
The guns had to be used by actual military personnel, troop transport. That was on the Western Australian government's dime.
And the farmer?
They had to provide food, accommodation, and even pay for the ammunition used.
Wow. So it wasn't exactly a free rescue mission.
Not at all. Pierce also saw other angles. He called it target practice for the troops. And it was a way for the government to look like it was helping Western Australia farmers, maybe even to quiet down some early talk about secession that was bubbling up there.
Politics involved, too. And they even brought a cameraman.
Yep, a cinematographer from Fox Movie Tone to document the whole campaign. Maybe they expected a swift victory.
So the stage is set. The war is about to begin. Who is actually leading this operation?
It was under the command of Major Gwynedd Purves Wyn Aubrey Meredith. He was from the Royal Australian Artillery.
Okay.
And he had Sergeant S. McMurray and Gunner J. O'Halloran with him, their weapons. 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition.
10,000 rounds. Against emus.
Okay. But there was an initial delay. Rain scattered the emus, made them harder to find.
Ah, nature intervening already.
Yeah. They finally deployed on November 2nd, 1932. And their orders were interesting.
How so?
Not just help the farmers, but also collect 100 emu skins. The feathers were needed for the light horsemen's hats.
Seriously. So part pest control, part haberdashery supply run.
You could put it that way. So, November 2nd, first engagement near Campion. About 50 emus sighted.
That way. Machine guns blazing.
The farmers tried to herd the emus into an ambush, but the birds were smarter than they thought.
What happened?
They split up, ran in different directions, small groups, made them really hard targets.
So not exactly lining up for the slaughter.
Not at all. The first burst of fire was apparently pretty ineffective. A second round killed, the reports say, a number, maybe perhaps a dozen.
A dozen out of 50? With machine guns. Not a great start.
Definitely not.
Well,
Then, 2 days later, November 4th, Major Meredith tries again, sets an ambush near a dam.
more birds this time.
Over 1,000 emus showed up, a huge mob.
Okay, this must be
The
it.
gunners waited, let them get close, opened fire, and the gun jammed.
You're kidding. After how many shots?
After maybe 12 birds were killed, the rest just scattered. Another failure.
This is unbelievable. It sounds like the emus were learning,
Yeah.
adapting.
That's what's fascinating. By the 4th day, Army observers actually noted something like that.
What did they say?
They reported, and I'm paraphrasing here, that each pack seems to have its own leader now, like a big, tall bird that stood watch while the others ate and warned them when the soldiers approached.
Like sentries. That suggests some kind of organized behavior.
It really does. A kind of guerrilla tactic, almost, which made things even harder for the military.
So, standard military tactics weren't working. Did they try anything else?
Meredith did. He even tried mounting one of the Lewis guns on a truck. Mobile warfare, right?
Makes sense. Chase them down.
Yeah, but it was useless. The truck couldn't actually gain on the running emus.
They were that fast.
Apparently so. And the ride was so rough over the terrain, the gunner couldn't aim, couldn't fire a single shot from the truck.
Just bouncing around helplessly while the emus ran off?
Pretty much. So by November 8th, that's 6 days into this, they'd fired 2,500 rounds.
2,500. And then kill count.
Highly uncertain. Estimates were all over the place. Maybe 50, maybe up to 500. Nobody seemed sure.
That's a huge range.
Yeah.
And a lot of bullets per potential kill.
Exactly. Major Meredith's official report apparently noted his men suffered no casualties.
Thank goodness for that, at least.
Except for their dignity.
Huh. Okay, a bit of dry wit there. You could feel the frustration.
Definitely. There's a famous quote from an ornithologist, Dominic Cervantes, summing it up.
What do you say?
He said, "The Emu Command had evidently ordered guerrilla tactics, and its unwieldy army soon split up into innumerable small units that made use of the military equipment uneconomic."
Uneconomic.
Oh.
That's putting it mildly. So the media got hold of this.
Oh, yes. And the coverage wasn't flattering. All this led Minister Pierce to withdraw the troops and the guns on November 8th. Round 1 definitely went to the emus.
A military withdrawal. Forced by birds.
Mm.
And what did Major Meredith say after it was called off?
He gave this incredible comparison. He actually compared the emus to Zulu warriors.
Seriously.
Yeah, praised their striking maneuverability even when they were wounded. And then the killer line. He said, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world.
Wow.
They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks." Essentially calling the emus indestructible super soldiers.
Incredible. Declaring the emus the superior fighting force.
Oh.
But the story doesn't end there, right? The emus didn't just pack up and leave.
No, the attacks on crops continued. The farmers were still in a terrible situation. Hot weather, drought. It was bringing even more emus onto the farms.
So they asked for help again after the first fiasco.
They did, and James Mitchell, who's the Premier of Western Australia, strongly backed them up. He wanted renewed military assistance.
What convinced Pierce to agree this time?
Well, partly the ongoing pressure, but also a report surfaced from the base commander claiming 300 emus had been killed in that first operation.
A slightly more positive spin on the numbers.
Perhaps. Enough for Pierce to approve, resuming the effort on November 12th. He defended it in the Senate, framing it as crucial for protecting agriculture.
So round 2. Did they send Meredith back in?
They did. Initially, the idea was just to lend the guns to the state government, let them find people.
But
Apparently, there was a distinct lack of experienced machine gunners available in Western Australia at the time. So Major Meredith was back in command in the field.
leading the charge once more. How did the second attempt go?
It started on November 13th, and they actually had a bit more success initially. Over the first 2 days, they killed about 40 emus.
Better than the first few days of round 1.
Marginally, yes. November 15th was less successful. But then, through late November and early December, they seemed to find a rhythm. By December 2nd, the report suggests soldiers were killing about 100 emus per week.
Okay, so some progress. More sustained, maybe?
A degree of success, yes. But still, think about the numbers involved. 100 a week against potentially thousands still out there.
True. So how long did this second phase last?
Major Meredith was recalled on December 10th. That marked the end of the military operation.
And his final report, what were the final figures?
This is where it gets interesting. He claimed 986 confirmed kills, using 9,860 rounds of ammunition.
Wait. That's exactly 10 rounds per kill. That sounds incredibly precise, almost too precise.
Doesn't it? He also claimed another 2,500 wounded birds probably died later from their injuries.
Bringing the total potential tally up, but still based on that very neat 986 number. How reliable are those figures?
Well, historians like Greg Beyer point out that figure is highly disputed and likely very inflated. It does seem suspiciously neat.
Right, 10 rounds per kill.
However, context is important. An article in the Coolgardie Miner newspaper in 1935, looking back, did say that while the whole thing was criticized, the machine gun approach proved effective and saved what remained of the wheat.
So even if the numbers were shaky, maybe locally there was a perception that it did help reduce the immediate problem, at least somewhat.
Possibly. It suggests the outcome was viewed differently on the ground compared to, say, in the national media or historical retrospect.
So the military intervention ends in December 1932. What happens after that? Do the farmers keep asking for machine guns?
They actually did. They requested military help again in 1934, 1943, and even 1948.
And the government's response?
Turned down every time. They weren't going down that road again.
So what did they do to help the farmers long term?
They shifted focus back to something that had already been around since 1923. The bounty system.
Paying people for killing emus.
Exactly. And this proved much more effective, statistically speaking. Just as an example, in one 6-month period in 1934, over 57,000 bounties were claimed.
57,000. Compared to Meredith's disputed claim of maybe 1,000 confirmed kills with machine guns.
It really puts it in perspective. A targeted economic incentive empowering the farmers themselves worked better than a military operation.
And what about preventing them getting onto the farms in the first place?
That became crucial too. From the 1930s onwards, building exclusion barrier fences became much more common.
Big fences.
Huge fences, designed to keep out not just emus, but also dingoes and rabbits. A more practical, physical barrier.
Makes sense. What was the reaction elsewhere? Did the rest of the world hear about Australia's Emu War?
Oh, absolutely. By December 1932, news had reached the UK. And some conservationists there were quite vocal.
Protesting.
Yes, protesting the cull, calling it the extermination of the rare emu.
Was the emu actually rare at the time?
Not nationally, but perhaps perceived as such by those unfamiliar. And prominent Australian ornithologists, like Cervanty again and Hubert Whittell, they described the whole military action as an attempt at the mass destruction of the birds. So criticism both abroad and at home.
And this whole bizarre episode, it didn't just fade away, did it? You mentioned it had echoes later on.
It really did.
Yeah.
Fast forward to November 1950, a federal parliamentarian, Hugh Leslie, actually persuaded the Army minister to release Army ammunition for farmers to shoot emus.
After everything that happened in 32, how much ammunition?
500,000 rounds. 500,000 rounds of .303 ammunition were approved for release.
500,000. So the idea of shooting emus as pest control, even drawing on military resources, clearly persisted long after the war itself.
It seems so. The Emu War, despite being, well, a military failure and a bit of a public relations disaster, clearly lodged itself in the Australian consciousness.
And even into pop culture, you mentioned.
Yeah, it's amazing how it resonates. There was a musical adaptation workshop in Melbourne in 2019.
A musical about the Emu War.
Apparently so. And even more recently, 2 different action comedy films. One called The Emu War came out in late 2023.
Okay.
And another one, The Great Emu War, is reportedly in the works with writers like John Cleese, Rob Schneider, Jim Jeffries. Quite the lineup.
John Cleese, wow. It really has captured the imagination as this absurd, almost unbelievable event.
Absolutely. It's just such a strange story.
So reflecting on all this, what's the big takeaway for you? What really stands out about this whole chapter?
For me, it's just a remarkable, almost humorous example of how unpredictable human and wildlife conflicts can be, and how our attempts to control nature can backfire spectacularly.
Especially when you try to apply, conventional military thinking to an ecological problem.
Exactly. It serves as this fascinating case study. It highlights the resilience, the sheer adaptability of wildlife when faced with human pressure. The emus, in their own way, won.
They really did seem to win that round. It makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. Are there situations today, complex environmental or ecological challenges, where we might be tempted to apply overly simple, maybe even forceful solutions? And could those solutions lead to similarly unexpected, maybe even counterproductive results, just like the Emu War back in 1932? Something to think about. Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unearth the most important, surprising insights from a stack of sources tailor-made just for you. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into something you interact with every single day, something you might think you know intimately, but rarely truly understand: your skin. We're going to explore it not just as a mere covering, but as an incredibly complex, dynamic, and, well, ancient organ. Our source material for this deep dive is a comprehensive dive into skin, exploring its intricacies not just in humans, but across the entire animal kingdom. It's truly packed with fascinating details that will reshape how you see yourself and the creatures around you.
And our mission for this deep dive is to extract those crucial nuggets of knowledge and surprising insights about skin, from its deep evolutionary origins to its incredible, multifaceted functions. Get ready to truly see your own skin in a whole new light.
All right, let's peel back the first layer here. When we say skin, what exactly are we talking about? Is it just our outer wrapper or something more profound?
It's definitely more profound. When we talk about skin in vertebrates, we're referring to the soft, flexible outer tissue covering the body. Think of it as your body's most active, vigilant shield. It actually has three main functions that are absolutely vital for survival: protection, regulation, and sensation. And it's important to clarify that this is distinct from other animal coverings, like the hard exoskeleton of an insect, which develops and functions in a completely different way.
Right.
The adjective cutaneous, by the way, comes from the Latin word cutis, meaning skin.
And the history of the word skin itself is quite surprising. Apparently, the word skin originally referred only to dressed and tanned animal hide. Can you believe the usual word for human skin was hide? Imagine saying, "My hide feels a bit dry today."
That's spot on. The word skin as we use it today is actually a borrowing from Old Norse skin, which meant animal hide or fur. This word ultimately stems from a Proto-Indo-European root that meant to cut.
To cut.
Exactly. This etymology gives you a sense of its very practical, ancient origins, likely a reference to how animal hide was prepared for garments. It's a reminder that even the words we use have their own deep history. So, if we continue this journey of peeling back layers, let's get into the intricate structure of mammalian skin. It's not just a surface. It's considered an organ of the integumentary system that's essentially your body's entire outer covering, including skin, hair, and nails. This organ is made up of multiple layers of tissue that meticulously guard all the underlying structures like muscles, bones, and internal organs. It's your first line of defense against the world.
And when we look at mammalian skin, there are two primary layers that do most of the heavy lifting, acting as the core of this incredible organ: the epidermis and the dermis.
Exactly. The epidermis is your outermost protective barrier. Its primary job is waterproofing your body and preventing pathogens, things like bacteria and viruses, from getting in. It's mostly made up of tough, resilient cells called keratinocytes, which give your skin its protective, waterproof qualities and make up about 95% of this layer. The epidermis itself isn't uniform. It has 5 distinct sublayers, or strata, including the tough outermost stratum corneum that you can feel, and the deepest stratum basal, which is where all your new skin cells are constantly being generated.
Wow.
What's crucial to understand about the epidermis is that it contains no blood vessels of its own. Its cells are nourished by diffusion from the blood capillaries located just beneath it in the dermis.
Ah, okay, so it relies on the layer below.
Precisely. Then, acting as a vital bridge and gatekeeper between the epidermis and the layer below it, we have the basement membrane. This is a thin, specialized sheet of fibers. Think of it like a control point, carefully regulating the traffic of cells and molecules moving between these two major layers. What's truly fascinating here is that it also acts as a kind of hidden reservoir, binding to various growth factors and signaling molecules, releasing them precisely when needed, especially during healing or repair processes.
So it's really active, not just a dividing line.
Very active. Beneath that, we find the dermis. This is the layer that gives your skin its incredible strength and elasticity, cushioning your body from stress and strain. It gets its impressive tensile strength and elasticity from a strong, stretchy network of collagen and elastic fibers. The dermis is a wondrously busy place. It's packed with many mechanoreceptors, which are the nerve endings that give you your sense of touch, pressure, vibration, and temperature. It's also where you'll find all your hair follicles, sweat glands, and sebaceous glands, along with a complex web of lymphatic and blood vessels, all working together in harmony.
That's quite a lot happening in one layer. So within that dermis, are there distinct regions that contribute to its strength and function in different ways?
Yes, absolutely. The dermis is actually divided into 2 distinct regions. The superficial layer, which is closer to the epidermis, is called the papillary region. It's made of loose, flexible connective tissue and gets its name from its finger-like projections, or papillae, which extend up into the epidermis.
Like little fingers
Yeah.
interlocking.
Exactly like that. These papillae interlock with the epidermis, creating a kind of Velcro effect that significantly strengthens the connection between the two layers, making your skin incredibly resilient. Then, deeper and usually much thicker is the reticular region. This part is made of dense, irregular connective tissue, and its name comes from the dense, woven concentration of protein fibers, collagen and elastic fibers, that give this part of the dermis its profound strength, extensibility, and elasticity.
Okay.
This region also houses hair roots, deeper sweat and sebaceous glands, various receptors, and a vast network of blood vessels.
So we've gone deep into the skin itself, but what's just beneath it? Is that still considered part of this amazing organ, or is it something else entirely?
That's an excellent question, because what lies directly beneath the dermis is the subcutaneous tissue, also known as the hypodermis, and it's important to clarify that this isn't technically considered part of the skin itself.
Oh, okay. Good distinction.
Its primary purpose is to attach the skin to your underlying bone and muscle, and it's also responsible for supplying the skin with its vital blood vessels and nerves. This layer is composed of loose connective tissue and elastin, and its main cells include fat cells, or adipocytes.
So fat cells.
Yes, lots of them. In fact, subcutaneous tissue can contain up to 50% of the body's total fat, which provides vital padding, acts as an energy reserve, and offers excellent insulation, helping to regulate your body temperature.
Insulation and padding makes sense.
And it's also interesting to note that even your skin's surface isn't empty. Microorganisms like Staphylococcus epidermidis naturally colonize it, forming what we call your skin flora. Even if you completely disinfect your skin, it gets recolonized very quickly from bacteria residing in deeper areas like hair follicles.
Huh. So you can't really sterilize it completely.
Not for long, no. And speaking of deeper areas, the dermis and subcutaneous tissues contain special germinative cells that are involved in forming unique structures in other animals, like horns in bovids animals, such as cattle, or the bony plates under the skin of some reptiles called osteoderm.
That's incredible to think about the microscopic world within and just beneath our skin. But the story gets even wilder when we look at how skin adapts across the animal kingdom. We're certainly not the only ones with a fascinating outer layer.
You're right. It's truly captivating to see how skin adapts to incredibly diverse environments and functions across the animal kingdom. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights the power of evolution in tailoring life forms to their unique challenges. Let's start with fish. Their epidermis is almost entirely made up of live cells with very minimal keratin, making it quite permeable, unlike our tough outer layer.
So very different from ours.
Very different. And unlike mammals, the dermis of most bony fish is often replaced by solid, protective bony scales, though cartilaginous fish like sharks have tooth-like denticles instead of true scales. Fewer also possess unique skin glands, such as mucus-secreting cells for insulation and protection.
The slime layer.
Exactly, the slime layer. Or even specialized poison glands and photophores that produce light, allowing them to glow in the deep sea.
Wow, light-producing skin.
Yeah. Then amphibians, like frogs and salamanders, have incredibly highly permeable skin. This isn't just a quirk, it often serves as a major respiratory organ, allowing them to absorb oxygen directly through their skin.
Which is why they need to stay moist.
That's exactly why. They also possess two distinct types of glands within their integument. First, mucus glands are non-venomous and cover the amphibian's entire body. These glands keep the body lubricated, help control pH, assist with thermal regulation, provide adhesive properties for climbing, act as an anti-predator defense by making them slimy and hard to hold.
Right, try catching a slimy frog.
Facilitate chemical communication, and even offer antibacterial and antiviral protection. Then, amphibians also have granular glands, which are venomous. These glands are typically located in clusters and secrete irritating or toxic compounds. What's fascinating is that these glands have a fascinating muscular control that allows them to precisely regulate how and when they release their potent compounds for defense.
Controlled venom release? That's intense.
It is. When we look at birds and reptiles, their epidermis is closer to that of mammals, featuring a surface layer of dead, keratin-filled cells to reduce water loss, a critical adaptation for life on land.
More like us then in that respect.
A bit more, yes. However, they have relatively few skin glands compared to mammals and amphibians. For instance, some reptiles might have specialized cells for secreting pheromones, and most birds have a uropygial gland near their tail, which produces oils for preening their feathers.
Preening gland, right?
And it's also notable that while hair is unique to mammals, feathers are unique to birds, and both of these structures are made of specialized proteins called beta-carotins, which are also found in the scales of reptiles.
Beta-carotins, okay.
This then makes you wonder, how do all these animals get their incredible colors? In reptiles, amphibians, and fish, skin color is largely due to specialized cells called chromatophores located in the dermis. These cells can contain various pigments, including melanin, guanine, or carotenoids.
Chromatophores, that's how chameleons do it.
Exactly. This is why some species, like chameleons and flounders, have the remarkable ability to change their skin color by adjusting the relative size and density of these chromatophores, allowing for instant camouflage or communication.
It's truly mind-boggling to see how skin adapts for so many creatures serving such diverse purposes. But how does this intricate organ, with all its varied forms, actually form in the first place? And what happens to it over time?
That's a crucial next step in understanding skin. All cutaneous structures, whether we're talking about hair, feathers, or claws, actually arise from the epidermis during embryogenesis when an animal is developing in the womb or egg. The epidermis initially forms a basal layer, which acts as a fundamental stem cell layer. This layer is crucial because it's maintained throughout an animal's life by an intricate ballet of molecular signals.
Signals?
Yeah.
Like chemical messages?
Pretty much, yes. Think of them like microscopic go and stop buttons produced by the epidermis itself and the dermis below it. For instance, growth factors from the dermis, like FGF7, are essential for maintaining these stem cells. Studies have even shown that if you overexpress these factors in mice, you can get an overproduction of skin cells and thickened skin.
So if it's all about these molecular signals, how do specific structures like hair and feathers know where and how to form in such precise patterns across the body? It seems so organized.
Well, it's believed to be the result of a reaction-diffusion system. The system involves an activator, like the gene sonic hedgehog.
Sonic hedgehog. Seriously.
Yep, that's the gene name. And inhibitors, like BMP4 or BMP2, which work together to form clusters of cells in a very regular pattern. Essentially, cells in the epidermis that express sonic hedgehog induce a condensation of cells in the underlying mesoderm. These mesodermal cell clusters then signal back to the epidermis, telling it exactly what specific structure to make at that position, whether it's a hair follicle or a feather bud.
Back and forth conversation between layers.
Exactly. Conversely, other signals from the epidermis, like BMP, inhibit the formation of these structures in nearby areas, ensuring the pattern is spaced out correctly. What's truly fascinating is that the mesoderm defines the overall pattern, and then the epidermis uses that information to make the specific structure through a series of reciprocal inductions.
Wow.
We've even seen in transplantation experiments between frog and nude epidermis that while the core pattern signals are conserved between species, the epidermal response is species-specific, meaning your epidermis knows how to make your skin structure.
So the instructions are similar, but the result is different. Incredible.
Unfortunately, as we age, tissue homeostasis generally declines, and this significantly impacts our skin. This process is caused in part by factors like TGF-β, which blocks the conversion of dermal fibroblasts into the fat cells that provide crucial support and plumpness to the skin.
Less fat cells means.
It directly contributes to common changes in the skin as we get older, such as wrinkles, discoloration, and skin laxity. In more severe cases, it can even contribute to skin malignancies, and these effects are often significantly worsened by sun exposure, a process we call photoaging.
Photoaging, that's sun damage, basically.
Essentially, yes. This is why protecting your skin from the sun is so vital for its long-term health and appearance.
So we've uncovered the incredible inner workings and even the aging process of skin. But zooming out, what does all this mean for us? Why is skin so fundamentally crucial for our very survival?
Well, the functions of skin are incredibly multifaceted and vital, truly making it one of the most indispensable organs. First, and perhaps most obviously, is protection. It acts as an anatomical barrier, defending you from pathogens, toxins, and external damage. But it's not just a physical shield. Specialized immune cells, called Langerhans, cells within the skin actively play a role in your adaptive immune system, serving as vigilant guardians.
Immune cells right there in the skin.
Absolutely. Second, sensation. Your skin is packed with a complex network of nerve endings that make you exquisitely sensitive to the world around you. Heat and cold, light touch, deep pressure, vibration, and, crucially, tissue injury. It's your body's first warning system for everything from a hot stove to a mosquito bite.
Yeah, you definitely feel it.
Third, thermoregulation. Your skin is a master of temperature control. Eccrine, or sweat, glands release sweat to help you lose heat through evaporation, while dilated blood vessels near the surface aid heat dissipation.
Sweating to cool down.
Right. Conversely, when it's cold, constricted vessels reduce blood flow to conserve heat. In mammals, tiny erector pili muscles, those are the ones that give you goosebumps, adjust hair angle to increase insulation, trapping warm air close to the body.
Goosebumps, so that's what they're for.
Fourth, control of evaporation and water resistance. Your skin provides a remarkably dry, semi-impermeable barrier that significantly reduces fluid loss from your body, preventing dehydration. Your sebaceous glands also release sebum, an oily liquid, which helps to retain essential nutrients in oils, keeping your skin supple and protected.
Keeping the moisture in.
Exactly. Fifth, storage and synthesis. Your skin acts as a storage center for lipids, fats, and water, and it's also absolutely crucial for the production of vitamin D.
Vitamin D from sunlight, right?
That's the one. A vital nutrient for bone health and immune function, which your body synthesizes when exposed to sunlight. Sixth, absorption. While limited in humans, small amounts of oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide can diffuse into the epidermis. Some animals, in fact, use their skin as their sole organ for respiration.
Breathing through their skin, wow.
Yeah. And, of course, many medications are now designed to be absorbed directly through the skin, delivering therapeutic compounds precisely where they're needed.
Like patches.
Exactly like patches. Seventh, camouflage. Whether an animal is naked or covered in fur, scales, or feathers, the skin and its specialized structures provide protective coloration and patterns that help animals conceal themselves from predators or prey, an essential survival strategy.
Blending in.
And finally, wound healing. When skin is severely damaged, it forms scar tissue. An interesting insight here is that hormones, specifically estrogen, have been shown to promote both the speed and quality of wound healing, highlighting a hormonal influence on skin repair.
That's truly remarkable how varied and adaptable this single organ is, serving so many critical functions. And speaking of variations, it's surprising how much the thickness of our own human skin can differ across our bodies. The thinnest skin, at only 0.5 millimeters thick, is under your eyes and around your eyelids, often the first place to show signs of aging.
Very delicate there.
But the thickest skin, at a robust 4 millimeters, is on the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet, designed for constant wear and tear.
And this variation in thickness relates to something fascinating about how skin responds mechanically to stresses. As a soft tissue, skin exhibits what's called a J-curve stress-strain response. This essentially means that it can stretch a lot with relatively little effort at first due to its internal structure, but then becomes very resistant to further stretching.
So it's stretchy, but only up to a point.
Exactly. This isn't just a biomechanical curiosity. It's why skin can stretch so much when you move, and it's why surgeons need to understand these hidden tensions to minimize scarring during operations. For instance, pre-existing stresses in the skin can cause small holes punched into it to either widen into ellipses, close completely, or even shrink and remain circular, depending on those underlying tensions.
Hidden tensions. Interesting.
It's a subtle but powerful insight into the hidden mechanics of your skin. And to put a cap on this segment about skin's incredible functions and properties, it's worth mentioning a truly compelling and recent discovery. Biologists reported on January 11th, 2024, the discovery of the oldest known fossilized skin.
Oldest ever. How old?
This ancient skin dates back about 289 million years and possibly belonged to an ancient reptile, pushing our understanding of skin's evolutionary timeline even further back than we previously imagined.
Wow, nearly 300 million years. Incredible. What an incredible journey we've taken today. From the surprising etymology of the word skin itself to the intricate microscopic layers that make up our own integumentary system, and then across the vast animal kingdom to see the remarkable adaptations in fish, amphibians, birds, and reptiles. We even touched upon the fascinating way this organ develops and the inevitable aging process that affects us all.
This deep dive really reinforces the idea that skin is so much more than just a surface or a simple covering. It's a dynamic, ancient, and truly indispensable organ, absolutely vital for protection, regulation, and sensation across countless species, ensuring their very survival.
So the next time you feel a breeze, touch something new, or simply observe your own skin, take a moment. Consider the incredible, ancient, and complex world beneath that surface, constantly working to protect, regulate, and sense. What other hidden depths might you now notice in the everyday?
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into something profound, existentialism.
Mm-hmm. It's a philosophical approach, or maybe a family of approaches, really.
Right, exactly. And it grapples with, well, maybe the biggest question. What does it actually mean to be human? Especially when the world often feels confusing, maybe.
It definitely doesn't shy away from the big, sometimes uncomfortable truths about just existing.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, we've pulled together a whole range of sources, including a pretty detailed Wikipedia excerpt.
Yeah, quite comprehensive.
Our mission, then, is to unpack all this, to kind of pull out the key insights, make sense of the core ideas.
And show how this way of thinking has, really seeped into art, literature, how we even see ourselves.
We want you to come away with a good, solid understanding, cutting through some of the, let's say, academic jargon.
Right, to get to the practical power behind these concepts.
So just think about this for a second as we start. Have you ever felt like you're just winging it, making life up as you go along?
Mm-hmm. Or that feeling of looking at all your choices and just wondering, what's the actual point?
Well, existentialism says that feeling isn't just normal, it's like fundamental. It's part of the deal of being human.
Yeah, it speaks right to that raw, sort of unscripted experience of being alive.
So at its heart, existentialism, as you said, it isn't one single thing.
No, it's more like a family of related views.
And what ties them together?
Well, it's this focus on the individual, right? The struggle to live an authentic life.
Even when existence itself seems, well, absurd or just impossible to fully grasp.
Exactly, that's the core tension.
So terms like existential crisis,
Yeah.
angst, courage, freedom, these aren't just buzzwords.
Not at all. They're really baked into this way of thinking. It's about facing those moments, those feelings, directly.
And it seems many of the philosophers involved were quite critical of older traditions, like pure rationalism.
Oh, absolutely. They often felt it was too abstract, too disconnected from the messy reality of actual human experience.
They wanted philosophy to feel more grounded.
Grounded in life as it's lived, yeah. Yeah. Not just logically thought about.
And running through all of this is this key idea, maybe the key virtue, authenticity.
Being true to yourself. But it's deeper than just, like, personal style.
Right. It's about aligning yourself with your own freedom, your responsibility for your choices.
Which brings us to the name itself, existentialism. It's got a bit of a story.
Oh.
Yeah, it was actually coined by a French Catholic philosopher, Gabriel Marcel, around the mid-1940s.
Okay, interesting.
But here's the twist. When Marcel first used it to describe Jean-Paul Sartre, Sartre actually rejected it.
Really? He didn't like the label?
Not at first. But then something changed. In late October 1945, he gave this incredibly famous lecture.
Existentialism is a humanism.
That's the one. And in that lecture, he publicly embraced the term. That event and the book that followed really launched existentialism into the mainstream.
Wow. So Sartre popularized the term he initially rejected.
Pretty much. And ironically, Marcel, the guy who coined it, he later backed away from it himself, preferring to call his own philosophy neo-Socratic.
Huh. It just shows how these labels can be kind of slippery, doesn't it?
Definitely. And that slipperiness is important when you try to define existentialism. It's often called a historical convenience.
Meaning it gets applied backwards in time to thinkers like Kierkegaard.
Exactly. Long before the term existed.
Yeah.
So some scholars tried to keep it narrow, focused on that post-war European scene, Sartre, de Beauvoir, Camus.
While others see its roots stretching way, way back, even to Socrates.
Yeah, there's that argument too. Stephen Crowell had a useful take on it. He suggested it's maybe less a system of philosophy and more an approach, a way of thinking that actually rejects rigid systems, more like a lens to view things through.
Okay, I like that. A lens. And when we look through that lens, what's the most fundamental idea we see?
Well, arguably, it's that phrase, existence precedes essence.
Right. That's the big one, especially for Sartre. Frederick Copleston pointed to that as the key unifying doctrine.
And Sartre himself, he described it as trying to draw out all the consequences of consistent atheism.
But it's important to note not all existentialists were atheists, right?
Absolutely crucial point. For someone like Kierkegaard, a profoundly religious thinker, existentialism wasn't about rejecting God. It was more about...
the human search for meaning in a world that doesn't just hand it to you.
Precisely. Asking what makes life good without expecting easy answers.
And there's even a little detail about the word existential itself.
Yeah, a small historical footnote. Kierkegaard might have borrowed the term existential from a Norwegian poet, Wellhaven.
Fascinating. Okay, let's really dig into existence precedes essence. You called it the cornerstone.
It really is, especially in Sartre's version. Think about making something like a paper knife.
Okay.
Its essence, its design, its purpose exists in the mind before the actual knife exists, right?
Uh-huh.
It's conceived, then made.
Got it. Essence comes first for an object?
But for humans, Sartre flips it completely, radically. He says you're not born with a preset essence, a blueprint, a purpose.
So you just exist first?
You exist first. You're thrown into the world, as Heidegger might say, and only then, through your choices, through your actions.
You define yourself.
You define yourself. Your life, the way you live it, creates your essence. You're literally building your own values, your own meaning as you go.
Wow. That's huge. Because if there's no fixed purpose you're born with,
Then the responsibility is entirely yours.
that's the radical implication you mentioned earlier. Total responsibility for who you become.
Exactly. And that's a major break from a lot of traditional Western thought, like Aristotle or Aquinas, where humanness or treeness was seen as an inherent essence-defining purpose.
Existentialists say, nope, not for us humans.
Pretty much. And while Sartre nailed it with that phrase, you see similar ideas bubbling up elsewhere.
Like in Heidegger. Or Kierkegaard's focus on inwardness.
That subjective, internal experience of being.
This self-definition idea, it also connects to Sartre's concept of bad faith, right?
Yes, absolutely. Bad faith is basically lying to yourself about your freedom. It's inauthentic.
How so?
It's like wishing you were brave but never acting bravely, or blaming your upbringing or your genes for your actions, saying, I couldn't help it.
Ah, so you're denying your power to choose differently.
Precisely. Sartre would say if you consistently act cruelly, then you are a cruel person by definition of those acts. You can't blame human nature. You chose it.
But the flip side of that is quite liberating, isn't it? That quote.
Man, first of all, exists, encounters himself, surges up in the world, and defines himself afterwards.
Yeah, the positive spin is huge. If you're not predefined, you can always choose to act differently.
You can change. You can become something new. It's never too late to redefine your essence through new actions.
That's the therapeutic potential, I guess.
Definitely. Jonathan Weber's idea about essence being teleological, having a purpose, helps too.
How does that work?
Well, a house has a purpose, a telos, built into its design. We don't. We choose our own telos, our own purpose.
Unlike the house.
Right. Now, Sartre stressed this radical, almost moment-to-moment freedom. Simone de Beauvoir added a layer.
Oh yeah, sedimentation.
Exactly. Our past choices build up, creating a kind of inertia. So while change is always possible, it often happens more slowly because we carry that weight of past decisions.
That feels very true to experience. It's not always easy to just flip a switch.
No, it isn't. And it's worth remembering Heidegger's critique here.
Right. He thought Sartre hadn't gone deep enough.
He felt just reversing the old formula existence before essence instead of essence before existence was still stuck in the same metaphysical game.
Still playing with the same concepts, just in a different order.
Kind of. Heidegger wanted to question the very nature of being itself, something he felt Sartre overlooked.
Okay, so if we're creating our own meaning, what happens when that feels impossible? When the world just seems meaningless?
Well, that brings us squarely to the absurd.
The idea that there's no built-in meaning out there in the universe.
Exactly. The world itself is indifferent. It doesn't operate according to our ideas of fairness or purpose.
Which clashes hard with how we often want the world to be, right? We look for reasons, for justice.
But existentialism, particularly Camus's version, says the universe doesn't offer that. The absurd is that clash, that gap between our longing for meaning and the silent, indifferent world.
And you said random, tragic events can really force this confrontation.
Absolutely. When something terrible happens for no discernible reason, it can shatter illusions of a meaningful order and throw you face to face with the absurd.
This is where it gets really interesting. The idea that bad things don't just happen to bad people. To the world, there's no such thing.
Right. It's a tough concept.
Yeah.
Albert Camus, who really owned this idea of the absurd, put it starkly in The Myth of Sisyphus.
That's the essay with the famous line about suicide.
There is only one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. Because if life is fundamentally meaningless, why go on?
That's heavy. What was his answer?
His answer was rebellion, defiance. He uses the myth of Sisyphus, doomed to push a rock uphill forever, only to watch it roll down again.
Seems like the ultimate futile task.
It is, but Camus says one must imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because Sisyphus accepts the absurdity, scorns his fate, and finds meaning in the struggle itself.
So the hero is the one who lives fully, embraces the struggle, even knowing it's ultimately pointless.
Exactly. Living without appeal, facing the absurd without succumbing to despair or suicide. That's the absurdist triumph.
You see this theme everywhere in literature and art, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kierkegaard, Beckett, Kafka, Dostoevsky, Ionesco, Camus himself, Heller's Catch-22. It's a powerful recurring motif.
Okay, moving on, let's talk about facticity.
Right. Facticity, Sartre called it the in itself. Basically, it's the collection of brute facts about your existence that you didn't choose.
Like my past, my body, where I was born.
Exactly. Your history, your physical limitations, your social context, the values you're raised with, how you're called to be thrown into the world.
So authenticity means acknowledging this stuff, not denying it.
Yes. Pretending your past didn't happen or that your circumstances have no influence, that's inauthentic.
But it's a paradox you said earlier. It limits you, but also enables freedom.
Precisely. You didn't choose your birthplace, that's a limitation.
Yeah.
But your values, your choices, they often arise in response to those very facts. Your facticity provides the context, the material for your freedom to work on.
Can you give an example?
Think about the two criminals you mentioned. One uses his past as an excuse, blames his facticity, and stays stuck, denying his freedom.
Right.
The other acknowledges the same difficult past, the same facticity, but chooses to define himself differently now, taking responsibility. He uses his freedom in relation to his facticity.
So the meaning or value of your facticity isn't fixed, you choose it.
You choose how you relate to it, yes.
Ah.
And this ties right into angst.
How so?
Well, angst arises partly from the tension between your radical freedom and these unchosen limitations, your facticity, but also from the terrifying realization that there's no external facticity, no human nature to blame if things go wrong. It's all on you.
Which leads perfectly into authenticity.
Exactly. Authenticity is living in sync with that freedom. It's about creating yourself, like we said, acting as you, the choosing individual.
Not just as a product of your genes or your upbringing.
Right, or not just playing a role. An authentic act flows from your conscious choice, reflects your actual values, and you take full responsibility for it.
And the opposite is inauthenticity.
Which is denying that freedom, pretending choices are random, maybe blaming fate or determinism.
Or that mimicry thing, just doing what one is supposed to do.
Just conforming to expectations without genuine choice. Sartre's famous example is the waiter in the cafe.
Ah, the waiter in Bad Faith.
Yes, he plays the role of waiter too perfectly. His movements are a little too precise, his concern a little too solicitous. He's become absorbed in the performance.
He's acting the part, not being a person who happens to be a waiter.
Exactly. He's objectified himself, reduced his being to the function, denying his own fluid consciousness and freedom. That's bad faith.
Okay. Now, what about the other and the look? Sounds a bit mysterious.
It's about how we experience other people. The other is simply encountering another free consciousness, another subject in the world.
Which confirms the world isn't just my experience.
Right. It establishes intersubjectivity, our shared reality, and objectivity, the world existing independently of me.
And the look, or the gaze.
That's the experience of being seen by that other. And crucially, for Sartre, it often feels like a limitation. It turns you into an object in their world.
Ah, like you lose your subjective freedom for a moment.
Sort of. Sartre's classic example is the man peeping through a keyhole.
Right, I remember this. He's totally absorbed.
Lost in his own world, his own consciousness. Then he hears a floorboard creak behind him.
And instantly feels
shame. He becomes aware of himself as seen, as an object for the other, a peeping calm. That sudden self-consciousness, that objectification, is the look.
And for Sartre, that shame proves other minds exist.
Yes, and it shows how being seen by others becomes part of your own facticity, part of the given reality you have to deal with.
And the really unnerving part is, it doesn't even need someone actually looking.
Exactly. It's your awareness that you could be seen, your awareness of yourself as a potential object in another's world. That's enough to trigger the feeling.
Wow, okay. That leads us nicely into angst and dread.
A very common theme. It's generally that negative feeling, that anxiety that comes from recognizing your own freedom and total responsibility.
The cliff edge example captures it well, doesn't it?
Perfectly. You're not just afraid of accidentally falling. You feel a deeper dread, the dread of the possibility that you could choose to throw yourself off.
That feeling of nothing's stopping me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're experiencing your own terrifying freedom, the lack of external constraints on your will.
And angst is different from fear because fear has an object.
Right. You fear the snake, the fall, the attacker. Angst is often described as being before nothing. There's no specific thing to remove or avoid to make the angst go away.
Because the source is internal. It's your freedom.
Yes. The nothing refers to that lack of external grounding, the abyss of freedom, and the insecurity about the consequences of your choices for which you are solely responsible.
And finally, in this cluster of concepts, despair. How is existential despair different from just feeling hopeless?
It's more specific. Existential despair is a loss of hope that happens when a core part of your identity, something that defines you, breaks down.
Like the singer losing their voice example.
Exactly. If being a singer was fundamental to their sense of self, losing that ability triggers despair because their very being feels shattered.
And this is universal because our identities are built on things that can crumble.
Precisely. Our identities are contingent. They depend on qualities, roles, relationships that aren't permanent. And since there's no fixed human essence underneath it all to guarantee stability,
We're always potentially vulnerable to this kind of despair.
yes, it's seen as part of the human condition. Kierkegaard really drove this home. He argued that unhappiness doesn't ultimately stem from external circumstances you can't control.
It's more internal.
And he made that great distinction. Relating hopefully to the possibility of good is hope, but relating expectantly to the possibility of evil, that's fear.
Okay, so existentialism defines itself partly by what it opposes, like positivism and rationalism.
Definitely. Existentialists tend to push back against the idea that humans are primarily rational beings, or that reason alone can solve life's deepest problems.
They think decisions are more about subjective meaning, what feels important to the individual.
Yes, reason is a tool, a useful one, but it has limits when you're dealing with questions of purpose, value, death, freedom. It can't give you the ultimate answers.
Sartre even saw relying too much on rationality as a kind of...
Bad faith.
Yeah.
He felt it was an attempt to impose a neat, logical structure onto a world that's fundamentally messy, irrational, random.
And doing that hinders freedom, makes you conform.
It can, yeah. By trying to suppress the anxiety and dread that come with freedom, you might just end up accepting the status quo, conforming to the look of the other, rather than choosing authentically.
What about religion? How does existentialism interact with, say, the Bible?
Well, an existentialist reading wouldn't focus on historical accuracy or literal doctrine so much.
What then?
It would see the Bible as a record of human encounters with the divine, or with ultimate questions. The stories and commandments aren't just external rules. They demand an internal response. They speak to you from the inside.
Like Kierkegaard's point about the teacher versus the learner.
Exactly. Who has the more difficult task?
Yeah.
The teacher who lectures on earnest things a meteor's distance from everyday life, or the learner who should put it to use?
It's about internalizing it, living it, not just knowing it.
Precisely. And this led to movements like demythologization in theology,
Where thinkers tried to strip away the mythical elements of Scripture.
to get at the underlying existential truths, the core messages about human existence, faith, doubt, and commitment, making them relevant for modern life. Boltzmann was key here.
Now let's tackle a common confusion. Existentialism versus nihilism. People mix them up, right?
All the time. And it's understandable because both grapple with the potential meaninglessness of life, the anguish that can cause. Nietzsche is a key figure for both, actually.
But they're not the same.
Definitely not. If we connect this to the bigger picture, many assume existentialism leads straight to nihilism, but that's a crucial distinction.
How would you define the difference?
Nihilism essentially concludes, life is meaningless, so nothing matters, values are baseless. Existentialism starts from a similar place, the lack of inherent objective meaning, but it doesn't stop there.
It emphasizes the response.
Yes. The emphasis is on persisting through the absurdity. Remember Camus again. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. It's about creating meaning and value through your choices and commitments, even in a meaningless universe.
So it's not nothing matters, it's up to you to make things matter.
That's a great way to put it. Existentialists rarely dismiss morality entirely. Kierkegaard found it in faith. Sartre, despite not finishing it, planned a whole work on ethics. It's about subjective value creation, not the denial of all value.
Okay, that's a vital distinction. Let's maybe take a quick look back at the history. Where did these ideas come from?
Well, you can trace precursors way back. Some see hints in religious thinkers like Pascal. William Barrett pointed to him, and Kierkegaard.
And Jean Wahl saw echoes even in Shakespeare. Hamlet's to be or not to be.
Yeah, that questioning of existence itself. And interestingly, you find similar themes outside Europe, like in the work of the Iranian philosopher Mullah Sadra.
But the real foundations are usually considered 19th century.
Right. Kierkegaard and Nietzsche are the big two, even though neither used the label existentialist.
What set them apart?
They shifted focus dramatically towards subjective experience, how life feels from the inside, rather than objective, scientific truth being the be-all and end-all.
And they both stressed free will, how choices define us.
Absolutely. Think of Kierkegaard's Knight of Faith, making that radical leap.
Or Nietzsche's Übermensch, creating values after the death of God.
Both are models of individuals defining their own existence, taking responsibility for meaning in a world that doesn't provide it ready-made.
And Dostoevsky in literature.
Hugely important. Notes from Underground is almost a manifesto of alienation and existential angst. Sartre loved the brothers Karamazov for its portrayal of crisis.
Even Crime and Punishment deals with these themes. Guilt, freedom.
Profoundly. Even as Raskolnikov moves towards a Christian resolution, his journey is steeped in existential struggle.
Then moving into the early 20th century.
You get figures in Spain like Unamuno, with his focus on the flesh and bone individual and the tragic sense of life.
And Ortega y Gasset's idea, I am myself and my circumstances.
Right, emphasizing that existence is always situated.
Yeah.
Then there's Martin Buber's I and Thou, exploring authentic relationships.
Russian thinkers like Shestov and Berdayev focusing on freedom.
Gabriel Marcel, who coined the term, but had his own distinct, often faith-based philosophy. Karl Jaspers talking about existence philosophy and self-becoming.
And of course, Heidegger's being and time.
A massive influence, even if his relationship with existentialism as a label is complex. He laid so much groundwork analyzing Dasein, human existence.
So what does this all mean for the public? It seems like after World War II, things really took off.
Oh, big time. The post-war era is where existentialism exploded into public consciousness.
Primarily through Sartre and Camus.
Yes, they became international celebrities, public intellectuals in a way that's hard to imagine now.
Sartre had already written Nausea and Being and Nothingness.
Dense works, yes. But it was the atmosphere after the liberation of Paris, 1945 onwards, that really propelled him and his Cercle Camus de Pouvoir into the spotlight.
And that 1945 lecture, Existentialism is a Humanism, was the spark.
It was a cultural phenomenon. Packed hall, people feigning the first media craze of the post-war era, as it's been called.
Wow. And we absolutely have to highlight Simone de Beauvoir's role here.
Crucial. The Second Sex, the ethics of ambiguity, she brilliantly fused existentialist ideas about freedom and self-creation with feminist analysis. Groundbreaking stuff.
Truly. And Camus, meanwhile, was popular but kept his distance from the label.
Yeah, preferring absurdism. The myth of Sisyphus remains incredibly powerful and accessible. That image of finding meaning in the struggle.
It really resonates. Other figures from that time.
Paul Tillich applied these ideas in theology. Maurice Merleau-Ponty brought in phenomenology in a major way. Colin Wilson tried to popularize it in English, though maybe with mixed results academically.
So beyond philosophy itself, where has existentialism left its mark? Seems like everywhere.
It's had a massive cultural impact, really pervasive.
In film, for instance. Kubrick's Paths of Glory.
Great example. Shows the absurdity of war, individual ethics under extreme pressure. Or Wells's adaptation of Kafka's The Trial. Pure absurdist nightmare.
Even things like anime, Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Deeply influenced by Sartre and Kierkegaard. Themes of angst, responsibility, the burden of consciousness. It's amazing how these ideas travel.
And directors like Bergman, Kurosawa, Nolan.
Absolutely. Think of Kurosawa's Redbeard, where the young doctor confronts suffering and finds a new purpose. Or Charlie Kaufman's films like Synecdoche, New York, almost pure existential exploration.
Literature, too, obviously, besides the main philosophers.
Celine's Journey to the End of the Night was a huge early influence. Kafka, Rilke, T.S. Eliot, Hess, Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man.
Even H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, that cosmic horror. Humanity's insignificance in a vast, uncaring universe. It taps into similar existential anxieties about lack of control.
And theater. Sartre's No Exit.
With that killer line, hell is other people, which, by the way, is often misinterpreted. It's about being trapped by the judgments, the look of others.
Ah, right. And Beckett's Waiting for Godot.
The absolute classic of absurdist theater. Waiting, questioning, filling time in the face of meaninglessness.
Stoppard's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead too.
Brilliant. Takes minor characters from Hamlet and throws their powerlessness, their confusion about the plot they're trapped in, into sharp relief.
And Anusa's Antigone during the Nazi occupation, choosing death over a compromised life.
A powerful act of defiance, drawing clear parallels to the resistance. Art becomes a form of existential commitment.
What about activism?
Black existentialism is a really important area. Thinkers like Fanon, Angela Davis, Cornel West.
Exploring the specific experiences of Black people facing absurdity, racism, the fight for self-definition against oppression.
Exactly. Applying existentialist tools to understand and combat unique forms of dehumanization and struggle for freedom.
So this brings up that question for many of us. How can this philosophy, which sounds so intense, actually help in everyday life? The therapy connection seems key.
It really is. Existential psychology became a major field. Figures like Otto Rank, Binswanger, Viktor Frankl, and his logotherapy.
Which focuses on finding meaning.
Yes. And in the U.S., Rollo May and Irvin Yalom were hugely influential.
So how does it work in therapy?
Well, therapists use these ideas to help people understand anxiety, not as something to just get rid of, but as a signal.
A signal of what?
A signal of their awareness of freedom and responsibility. The goal isn't to eliminate anxiety, but to harness it.
Use it as motivation.
Exactly. Use it constructively, as grounds for making conscious choices, for change, for living more authentically and realizing your potential.
And this connects to terror management theory.
Which looks at how our deep, often unconscious, awareness of death shapes our behavior, our values, our cultures. Confronting mortality is central.
Of course, like any major philosophy, existentialism has faced criticism.
Oh, absolutely. Walter Kaufman, who actually did a lot to introduce existentialists to English readers, still criticized their methods sometimes, their contempt for reason.
And the logical positivists had issues.
Yeah, philosophers like Carnap argue they misused language, particularly the verb to be, making grand claims about being that were logically meaningless to them.
Colin Wilson felt they got stuck.
He thought they created their own problems, ended up walking in circles, perhaps being a bit too pessimistic or navel-gazing.
And Sartre specifically drew fire.
Quite a bit. Accusations of contradicting himself, making metaphysical claims while saying he avoided metaphysics.
Herbert Marcuse had a critique.
Yes, he argued, being and nothingness projected anxiety onto existence itself, and in doing so, it mirrored the very oppressive ideologies it aimed to fight.
And Heidegger's famous put-down.
His distancing in the letter on humanism, saying Sartre's reversal existence precedes essence, was still just playing the same old metaphysical game. The reversal of a metaphysical statement remains a metaphysical statement.
Ouch. Still, quite a legacy.
Undeniably.
So this deep dive, it really shows existentialism isn't one simple thing. It's this incredibly rich, diverse family of ideas.
From that radical focus on freedom and responsibility.
Deep insights about being authentic, facing the absurd, dealing with other people.
It really challenges us to look squarely at what it means to be human, without easy answers.
It feels like it's not about waiting for meaning to be given to you.
Not at all. It's about realizing the power and the burden of having to create it yourself.
Yeah.
Facing that void, that lack of pre-given purpose, and choosing to build something anyway.
So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. If your existence truly comes before your essence, what new essence will you choose to create for yourself, starting today? Knowing the full weight, but also the incredible wonder of that choice.